when we first started working together, and you kind of referred at the beginning to the Kairos assessment that we've been using for probably 20 years.
Yeah.
Because we found that if we really understood people's cognitive preferences, it would really accelerate the installation of GTD, because we didn't have to kind of intuit our way through, what would be the best tool for you, what would be the best list for you. And when you and I first began to, talk, I think that there's always this sense of, I have to be electronic. I was just like, oh, you are so paper-based person.
It was incredible. It was like permission. It was like you gave me permission to know, because what I was doing before I found you, I started this in November. So I don't know if I told you that or not, but I started in November, and I just, I downloaded the Trello, and I downloaded the, Microsoft Teams and all the things, because people did a great job and they made all these wonderful cloud, workflow apps. And I mean, I love that. Couldn't do one of them. And so I was like, so that's why I called you, because I'm like, I'm there. I've clarified. I didn't feel like I had clean edges when I worked with you. I had clean edges, but before that, like I was doing it, and I'm like, this is all making sense, but for some reason, I'm just not tracking it. And it was because I was trying to do it electronically, and I really am very analog. It's just how my brain works better.
Yeah,
I think it's the doing with my hand.
And then I think that once we got the tool set up, I think then what was so interesting is that it was such a cognitive leap for you
to
not have your projects and project plans and next actions there.
Yeah.
Because I think that depending on the tool, you kind of pull out the next action and put it on your next action list, unless the tool, connects that, which some of them do. And what I really loved was being able to so customize it for you, to be able to say, for right now, let's have that ad hoc next actions list. But because you want things so associatively connected, that we were able to really manipulate and customize that paper-based planner, because my job as a coach is to figure out, how do you think when you're going to do work? So when you're going to do work and you've got all of this stuff that you need to do, remember we talked about you going up to the areas of focus and responsibilities, because there's less volume up there. Right. And that really helped you kind of with the prioritizations, because you're like, well, do I work on mom, and do I work on job, and do I work on my health and all that kind of stuff? And so what's interesting is when you talk about the Kairos being a personality, it actually gets underneath personality and emotions, and it's really about your preference.
Oh, interesting.
It's kind of like, your preference. Are you right-handed or left-handed? And so the reason why I want to know this is, I don't want to, if you're a lefty, I don't want to set you up as a righty.
Well, can I ask you this? If it's more of a preference, like, so how if you're a righty, you can be taught to do left-handed, but it's just like you automatically lean to go to right.
Exactly.
Is that kind of the same thing?
Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's why it's more of a preference.
Okay.
So for me as a coach, really understanding your cognitive preferences allows me to accelerate how I might coach you, not only on what the tool you're going to use or the lists that you're going to use. And do you want to have not too many, but you want to have enough.
Yep. So, and kind of like the extra list you gave me for have your next project or your next action support list, which was huge, which I wouldn't have done.
Exactly. So I organized it in a way that made sense to you cognitively, because you're going to do work. These are focusing lists. So when you're going to focus and do work, you want to be able to look at a list and it kind of reflect back the way that you think.
Yes.
And if I set you up in a way that you have a disconnect where it's like, well, wait a minute, I don't think that way. So now these lists don't really have much meaning, which has happened in the past. So
it happened to me with the first time I tried it. It happened. I got stuck, and it just wasn't making sense for me, so I abandoned it. So
exactly. So that's what I think really is been the game changer for us in terms of helping people make this work for them, was by incorporating the Kairos assessment, so that we understood people's preferences. And you really experienced that.
Yeah, I really, really experienced it, like 100%, because I was about to put it down, and I literally, it was so funny. That was the bonus I got. I was like, well, that's my bonus, and it was like, I felt like it was kismet. So, I said, all right, well, I wouldn't have had it anyway. So,
Yeah. And an example of that is, for example, because you have that really dominant talking preference, when you had a next action that was sitting there and you
Mhm.
thought that the next action was to draft something or the next action was to write something, and it would sit there and sit there. And when we would have follow-up calls and we were like looking at those lists of things
Yeah.
that were drifting or that they were just not moving forward, even though you wanted to see it as an option. And
Mhm.
then I said, well, geez, because I also have that dominant talking preference too. One of the things I've really learned that a lot of times my next action is who can I talk to?
Yes, and
And
that
and
was
and that
an
really resonated with you. And
really
so
yeah.
by understanding your preferences, a lot of times your next actions change.
Yes.
So many times in the past, I would have a next action, and now by understanding my preference, my next actions has shifted. And so
Yes.
again, my expertise is not in the cognitive preferences. My expertise is how do your cognitive preferences bump up against your GTD practice?
Yep.
That's just an
You had it. You
example.
nailed it. Like you
That
literally
was just
nailed
an
it.
example. Yeah. And that's been what has made, I think, GTD one of the big pieces to make it stick.